Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is probably opening a bottle, pouring a glass, or taking the first sip of a drink that humans have been enjoying for thousands of years. It feels ordinary. A beer after work, a glass of wine at dinner, a drink shared with friends. But hidden inside that simple action is a story that stretches back far beyond civilization. Before cities, before writing, before agriculture, before humans even became fully human, the relationship between your ancestors and alcohol began millions of years ago, long before anyone had the idea of making it intentionally. Around 10 million years ago, ancient primates living in African forests faced a simple survival challenge: finding food. Fruit was one of the best sources of energy available, but fruit did not stay fresh forever. When fallen fruit sat on the forest floor, something interesting happened. Wild yeast began feeding on the natural sugars inside the fruit. Fermentation started. The fruit slowly produced ethanol, the same chemical compound found in modern alcoholic drinks. For a hungry primate searching through the forest, this created a strange advantage. The smell of fermented fruit could lead them toward a rich source of calories. The slight effects of alcohol may even have created a positive association with that food. This idea became known as the drunken monkey hypothesis, proposed by biologist Robert Dudley from the University of California, Berkeley. His argument was not that ancient primates were walking around drunk. The idea was much more interesting. For millions of years, our ancestors lived in environments where the ability to detect and consume naturally fermented fruit could have helped survival. The attraction to alcohol may have started as a connection between smell, energy, and opportunity. Your brain did not suddenly discover alcohol thousands of years ago. The relationship was already ancient, but eventually, humans did something no other animal could do. They stopped waiting for nature to create alcohol. They learned how to create it themselves. One of the earliest examples comes from a cave near modern-day Haifa, Israel. The site is called Rakafet Cave, and around 13,000 years ago, it was used by the Natufian people. These were not farmers living in permanent villages. They were hunter-gatherers. They collected wild plants, hunted animals, and moved through the landscape depending on resources. But inside this cave, archaeologists discovered something surprising: stone mortars carved into the bedrock. When researchers analyzed the ancient residue left inside, they discovered traces of wheat and barley that had been processed in a way consistent with fermentation. In other words, these people were making beer, not accidentally, not because a piece of fruit became spoiled. They were intentionally creating an alcoholic drink. And that discovery changed the traditional story of civilization. For a long time, the assumption was simple. Humans became farmers. Humans settled into villages. Humans developed new technologies. Then humans discovered alcohol. But the evidence suggests something different. People may have been experimenting with fermentation before agriculture existed. The desire to create special drinks may have appeared before the desire to create permanent settlements. And Rakafet Cave was only the beginning. Thousands of years later, another mystery appeared in southeastern Turkey, a place called Gobekli Tepe. This site contains some of the oldest monumental architecture ever discovered. Massive stone pillars, carefully carved animal figures, structures requiring enormous cooperation between groups of people. Some stones weighed more than 10 tons. The question that confused archaeologists was simple. Why would hunter-gatherers organize such a massive construction project? Why would people who moved across the landscape invest so much energy into building a place they did not live in? The answer may have involved something humans have always done: gathering together. Inside the site, researchers discovered large stone containers. Analysis suggested traces of fermented grain. The possibility emerged that Gobekli Tepe was not simply a monument. It may have been a place where people gathered for rituals, celebrations, and large communal feasts. And alcohol may have played a central role, because throughout human history, drinking has rarely been only about the drink itself. It creates connection. It creates celebration. It creates moments where strangers become a group. But here comes the surprising question. Did the desire for alcohol actually help create agriculture? Archaeologist Patrick McGovern, one of the world's leading researchers on ancient alcoholic beverages, has suggested that early farming may have been strongly connected to the production of beer. The traditional explanation is that humans planted crops because they wanted more reliable food. But grains are not only food, they are also ingredients for fermentation. And creating beer may have been a powerful motivation. Think about the difference. Turning grain into bread requires grinding, mixing, shaping, and baking. Making a fermented drink can happen through soaking grain and allowing natural processes to transform it. For ancient communities, a drink that brought people together may have been just as valuable as a meal, maybe even more valuable. By around 7000 BCE, humans were creating much more complex alcoholic recipes. At Jiahu, a Neolithic settlement in central China, archaeologists discovered ancient pottery containing chemical traces of a fermented mixture made from rice, honey, grapes, and hawthorn berries. This was not random experimentation. Someone carefully selected ingredients. Someone understood the process. Someone was creating a recipe. Thousands of years later, alcohol became deeply connected to some of the world's greatest civilizations. In ancient Egypt, beer was not considered a luxury. It was part of daily life. Workers involved in massive construction projects, including those who helped build the pyramids, received beer as part of their payment. Not because Egyptians valued drinking more than money, because beer served several important purposes. It provided calories, it provided nutrients, and because the brewing process reduced some dangers found in untreated water, it could be a safer drink than drinking directly from contaminated sources. For an ancient worker under the desert sun, beer was not simply entertainment. It was energy. It was hydration. It was part of survival. The Egyptians also connected beer with religion and medicine. They believed it had divine origins. It appeared in ceremonies, offerings, and burial traditions. Doctors used beer as a base for some medical mixtures. A single drink could represent food, payment, medicine, and ritual all at once. That is how powerful alcohol became in human societies. Not because humans simply wanted to escape reality, but because alcohol solved problems. It preserved calories. It encouraged cooperation. It strengthened social bonds. It created shared experiences. From fermented fruit on an ancient forest floor to beer brewed inside prehistoric caves, the story of alcohol is also the story of human creativity. 10 million years ago, your ancestors were attracted to naturally fermented fruit. 13,000 years ago, hunter-gatherers were deliberately producing beer. Thousands of years later, civilizations were building economies and traditions around fermented drinks. The modern bottle, the modern glass, and the modern brewery may look completely different, but the basic impulse remains the same. Humans have always searched for connection, for celebration, for moments that make ordinary life feel meaningful. So the next time you see someone raise a glass, remember what is actually happening. It is not just a drink. It is a behavior carrying millions of years of history. A small reminder that beneath modern technology, modern schedules, and modern problems, your brain still carries ancient instincts from a world of forests, caves, and campfires. Your ancestors had no clocks, no offices, no endless notifications, no schedule, no alarm, no place to be. They searched for food, protected their families, told stories, and gathered around fires. Modern society has given humans incredible comfort, but it has also created new forms of stress, isolation, and anxiety that our ancient biology never evolved to handle. Maybe that is why humans still gather around a shared drink, because somewhere deep inside, the same ancient part of your brain remembers the forest floor, the firelight, and the simple human need to belong.